Hello, everybody. Welcome back to High Vibe in It. Thanks for being here. We are very excited to introduce you to today's guest, and the topic being wealth magnetism, wealth embodiment, all things wealth. Because we've done several conversations about manifesting more money and abundance and having a more prosperous attitude and mindset, but wealth, I feel like the word itself has a certain depth and weight to it, and it feels nice. So I really wanted to dive into this with Miss Jamie because she is the Slay Coach, otherwise known as Mama Slay, and she herself has built over a $1 million company, and it's growing, and she's awesome, and she's here to teach everyone how to do this stuff. So Jamie, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys and talk about one of my favorite things
Yes.
to talk about.
Excited to dive into this. I want to talk about first and foremost, for those that maybe are being introduced to you for the first time, let's get your origin story. Where do you come from? Who are you? And what makes you like thrive, I guess?
Well, if you looked at me, you would not think that I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, barefoot and pregnant at 19. I do not fit in Kentucky. So my origin story is I'm a beauty school dropout. I have no formal education. I learned business in corporate America. I also learned business from a very powerful woman in the restaurant industry. I worked in restaurant management for years before I had a baby, and then I got pregnant, didn't want to do the restaurant thing anymore. I got pregnant at 19, and I was like, well, can't do hair because I have metal in my back and that hurts. And okay, I don't want to do the restaurant thing anymore because you work 60 hours a week for $30K a year because I have a baby now. So each step led me to, then I got the corporate job, did the quote unquote responsible thing because that's what you do when you're from Kentucky. You get married, you buy the house. I got engaged to the wrong person just because we had a baby together. And I was like, why am I in this abusive relationship? And then I bought my first house at 21 because I was like, that's what you do when you're a mom now. Like I wasn't going out to bars, and I definitely had a slut phase at 23 when I left my ex.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. I had like a 6-month, I'm single for the first time since being legally able to drink, and there was a phase there. But I had my daughter, quit the restaurant business, which I learned from a very powerful restaurateur, female owned business, and she taught me how to lead, and she taught me how to train people, and she taught me how to be a good boss. And then I did the corporate America thing and worked my way up the call center channel. So I started in a call center for a major Fortune 75 company, and entry level position, 30K a year, and I applied 17 times to that job.
Wow.
17 times, because it's the big corporation here in Kentucky. It's called Humana. I mean, it's a major insurance company all across the country, and it's a major employer here. And I was like, I've got to get on. They have benefits. I got to leave the restaurant industry. And so I did that, finally got on, worked my way up off the phones in like 9 months. And then 4 years into that business, that career, I was managing a call center of 500 people. I had 22 supervisors, 2 operations managers, and I revamped call centers. I came in there and I did the shaking hands and kissing babies thing, which, in Corona, you can't do anymore, kiss babies or shake hands. But I went to my call centers and I gave them the kick in the ass and the love that they needed. And I took the worst performing call centers and turned them into the best performing call centers by loving the people, by nurturing the leaders there, by giving a fuck about what they wanted, by caring about them. And so I was the youngest, and I was much hated because I didn't run the conventional corporate rules. Like, I didn't do the spreadsheets or the data or show up for the right meetings, or I didn't care. I cared about my people and how they performed, and I cared about how they felt. And I loved on them instead of worrying about all the silly stuff that I think goes on, the busy work that goes on in a lot of the corporate world. And then I had my son. So I was successful at that, had my son, didn't want to travel 20 weeks out of the year anymore. So I told my husband, what the fuck, I can't, I'm crying in an airport bathroom, pumping my tits, saying, I can't do this anymore. I had just dropped off my newborn with a stranger. He was 12 weeks old, and I got on a plane and headed to North Carolina. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? And my public speaking background comes from corporate America, and training and education comes from corporate America. And then I started network marketing. I jumped into the Beachbody coach thing, and I outwardly looked very successful with that. I was on the market council for the state of Kentucky. I was a top rank that nobody cares about unless you're in that company. You wouldn't fucking know what I'm talking about. But I was in like the top 1% of the company, but I was only making like 30 to 60K a year. So it wasn't like rolling in the dough, you know what I mean? But I was able to stay home. And I learned online marketing and sales, whereas I had learned business management in corporate America. So people kept coming to me saying, can you help me with my business? I know you have so much business background. Can you help me? And I was like, okay, if the universe keeps sending me all these people that want my help, why am I not charging for this? Why am I not doing this work? Well, a lovely old imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I had imposter syndrome that said, you can't do that. You've only made $60,000 in your Beachbody business. No one cares. You're not successful enough. And so I put off doing that for a whole year. I wanted to. I looked at hiring coaches, and I was like, no, you're not successful enough. You can't do that. And then my daughter got infantile scoliosis. My third baby, my 4-month-old at the time, this was 3 years ago. My upline in network marketing started a GoFundMe, and that's the most humbling experience ever when, you know, someone says, here's your handout. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I was grateful, and I received the money, and I was super grateful, and it went towards her medical bills. And I was like, is this my life? People are starting GoFundMes for me because I can't pay my daughter's medical bills. I'm choosing my daughter's hospital that we go to based on the free hospital or the one, like we were either between, because no one in Louisville treats infantile scoliosis. So we had to go to Cincinnati or Lexington. And I was looking at doctors based on, oh, well, if we go to Shriners, everything's charity based, donation based there. So we'll go to Shriners. I was like, granted, he ended up being the better doctor anyway. So it wasn't like we were out of luck. You know, I wasn't like picking some like, you know, backwoods, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
sketchy doctor. He was the best doctor for her, but that was not my life. And so I was like, I have to launch this business I've been wanting to do. I wanted to create networking events for women that weren't business owners yet, because if you go to Tuesdays Together or Creative Mornings or what's another like really big name? I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? All those like fancy networking events that are like, it felt very exclusive for people that had a business, because if you didn't have a business yet, you don't have a business card, you're going to feel like you're not included. You're going to feel like you're not a part of this club. If you're just a creative who wants to start a business, where can I go and learn? And so that's when the Slay Coach and the Chardonnay and Slay events were created. It was out of, I have to launch this business because no one's creating a charity case for me ever again. and then that was 3 years ago this month, last week, actually. So
happy anniversary.
I know we crossed $1 million in our second year, and soon to be multiple million, and it keeps growing. So I retired my husband after about a year, brought him home to run the company, and he had a 6-figure corporate salary, and now he runs the show. So
wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm like so with you when you say like that's what you do in where I'm from. I'm from Michigan, so different accent, but same deal. Like same idea. You get married young, you have kids young, you buy the house, you get a job in insurance. I can't tell you. It's either insurance or Pampered Chef. I feel like that's what they do. It's the only two. I love my family. I'm so sorry, but it's true. It really is, because I mean, before I moved to LA when I was 20, because I just couldn't stay. I knew from a young age I was supposed to get out, and I was like, I'm still so happy that I did, just because there's so much more in the world that we don't even pay attention to. We don't even look at. We don't even think about opening to it, because it's not what you do, right? So
where are you now?
I'm in Vegas, because my husband's job moved us. But I'm in like a suburb.
Clients in Vegas.
My friend was visiting us recently, and she goes, your house does not look like a Vegas house. And I go, I don't know what that means, but thank you. She goes, it doesn't look deserty at all. And now, like, I understand the aesthetic. So when I say like it doesn't look like Vegas where I live, it kind of doesn't, because it's a little bit more greener.
What part?
It's like north, like 35, 40 minutes from the Strip. So you can't really.
last place I traveled pre-shutdown was Vegas. I had
Really?
my marketing director just left Vegas like 2 months ago, and I had like 3 clients in Vegas. I love Cafe Lola. I go to Cafe Lola all the time. Actually, our coffee shop we're opening is based off of inspired by Cafe Lola
How
in Vegas.
funny.
So
Wow.
I am a small town, big town girl, and Vegas is the closest city I've ever found to match what Louisville is. Louisville's actually
Wow.
quite bigger, but because Vegas is tourists mostly,
Mm-hmm.
but Vegas is the only town I've ever been to where they say, "Where did you go to high school?" I'm like, we all ask that here. It's
I
not
know,
where you
right?
went to college. Where'd you go to
Totally.
high school?
Which high school did you go to? Yeah, that's so funny. But I love that you do come from. I mean, your background is so colorful. You've done so many things that didn't necessarily vibe with you, that didn't really work for you. That you were like, changing course, don't like this. And I think that's great because we don't do that enough. We don't like give ourselves permission to change our mind or to move toward what feels better. And I will say, as a mom of 3 kids, I know the feeling of changing course because you don't want to give your baby to a stranger. Like that is the reason I'm a hypnotherapist and sitting in this chair, because I decided that I didn't want a stranger to raise my kid 8 hours a day and go back to 60-hour work weeks doing something I did not want to do. So
Yep.
I think that you and I need to shout that from the rooftops more. And I think that you're doing a great job of doing that. Like, you get to decide, you get to change
And
your mind.
I love that you brought that up because the real story here about that is we have to stop demonizing the pivot. We have to
Yes.
stop demonizing quitting as if it were failing. Like, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is quit, is set a boundary for yourself to quit something that is not energetically serving you, and stop putting our energy and weight into making it mean something that it doesn't. I had this story of, well, you're ADD, you can't stick with anything for very long. And here I am 3 years later, still doing the same fucking thing and loving it every day. So, sorry, you're going to put an explicit on this. I'm sure you knew that.
Oh, they're
All of our
explicit.
episodes.
You're
I
good.
was like,
If it's not the guest, it's Kelsey. Cheers.
Yeah, that's fine.
cheers, my people. But yeah, like, we have to stop demonizing when people change their fucking mind. Like,
Yeah.
you're allowed to change your mind a lot. Like, a lot. Like, until you like, keep fucking changing your mind and not making it mean. I used to make it mean, well, that's just you quit. You're ADD, you're lazy, you never stick with anything long enough, you quit. Stop putting that onto your identity because it's not true. Now, if you're quitting because it's hard and you don't want to push yourself and you're like being challenged emotionally or energetically to do more or show up more, that's different. But if it's because you genuinely fucking hate it and it's not you anymore, like, give yourself permission and own it. Own it unapologetically. Like, this is not for me and I don't care what you think. I'm done. Like, and move on.
Yeah. And I liked how in your story you went through all the different chapters and explained, this is what I learned from this one, and this is what I learned from this one, and this is what I gained from this one, because it's never a waste. It's never in vain. It's just sometimes we stay a little too long and we don't listen to that nudge of like, oh, this isn't for me anymore. Time to move on, you know? So I
Yeah.
think that's really great. And everyone listening to your story, like, pay attention to that part. Like, it didn't just happen overnight.
Oh,
She went through all these different courses to learn what she needed to learn to become this person, to be able to manifest this life.
yeah. I mean, everything, and we can talk about wealth too in a second, but like, everything that led up to this moment was the bracelets I sold that I made at home at age 10, that I sold at school to friends. Like, the lemonade stand that I had when I was a kid. It all was leading up to me being where I am. You can't always see it in the moment. And do you have any listeners or working a 9 to 5 still, or?
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So here's the biggest piece of information, so I don't know if you guys follow the Champagne Diet, Cara Leva. So she's one of my best friends. That's who I was just talking to right before I got on here. And she was also one of my mentors, and we kind of mentored each other throughout the years. And she did the corporate thing for a long time. And she was like, girls, why are you so shameful or hard on yourself for still being in your corporate job? It is polishing you. It is molding you. It is teaching you. And there's so much talk around like there's a whole brand built around screw the 9 to 5. And I'm like, yeah, screw the 9 to 5. But also, if you've decided that I'm not energetically ready to leave this yet, soak up every ounce of polishing or molding or education or experience that you can. Find ways to learn new skills in corporate America that might serve your new business that you're starting. Because when you can be grateful for your current situation, if you can't leave it yet, if you believe that you can't leave it, I believe anyone can leave anything, but if you feel like you can't leave yet, then how can you be grateful and soak up and learn? Because honestly, why I blew up so quickly, it wasn't just my network marketing experience. Why I blew up in the coaching world so quickly is because I did the legwork in my restaurant business.
Mm-hmm.
I used my experience as evidence of why I'm a big fucking deal. I used my public speaking experience in corporate America as why I was able to host events and speak to thousands of women in person. And I was like, no, wait, that's what helped me get over my imposter syndrome, was looking back at my entire life's experience and saying, oh my God, all of this is why I'm better than everyone else out here doing this work. So look at your life. Your life is your best testimonial, your best resume is not just your jobs, but like your life experience.
And when one of the first things you said when you introduced yourself is, I have no formal training. And then you went through this whole story of how much training you have. But again, not formal. We didn't go to college and get a degree. You had life experience that takes you, in my opinion, so much farther because there's that human connection, you know?
I'm actually like, and people hate on me for this, I'm actually anti-college. So I'm not anti-college if you want to be an anesthesiologist or a lawyer, or I get a lot of flack for having a very strong position about being anti-school or anti-college. I'm like, I'm anti-formal education for the sake of education.
Yeah.
Like following, gone is the day of where our kids, and how old are your kids again?
8, 4, and 2.
Okay. Just wait.
Little. Yeah.
I have a teenager.
My husband's talking about like, well, we got to save up for college. And I'm like,
Okay.
do we though? But do we?
If they want to.
It depends on what they want to do. Yeah. My son wants to be a garbage man, so I don't know.
Oh.
My 4-year-old is obsessed with garbage man.
My son went through that phase too.
Yeah, right? I don't know what it is. Garbage man.
It's so funny. Big cool truck. Duh.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
they haven't smelled their job yet.
But Jamie, I'm totally understanding of your perspective because I didn't go to college. I'm a cosmetologist. I went to beauty school. I've written 2 books now that are both published. I coach people. I make a lot of money doing hair part-time. Like, I would say by anyone's standards, like, I feel pretty successful, and I didn't have to go one day to college. And it's definitely not for everyone. And I think it's a shame that people shame people for taking different avenues. And then the irony is, like, there's so many people needed in different trade skills, and now there's not enough people trained to do them, like welders or firefighters or whatever it is. And yeah, it requires some amount of training, but you don't have to go to a traditional college. And now those industries are like dying for people, and actually they can be so lucrative and so fun and so meaningful. So I think definitely open yourself up and open your kids up to the possibility of, like, there's no shame in wanting to do something different, and you can be successful no matter what it is. It's about the person, not the job.
Right.
Yep, I agree. And hair, I mean, like, I know so many hairdressers make the best entrepreneurs because they were like, hey, I don't want to work for anyone else. This is why I'm doing this. And one of my client in Vegas was a celebrity hairdresser, and she charged $6,000 for a round of extensions, and she was fully booked out. Like, she worked 1 day a week because she had 2 clients and she made 12 grand a day. You know what I mean? So like, she didn't, like, the possibilities with each profession are endless. But I want you to picture like an 1800s cobblestone sidewalk with all these stores. So, and all people are like, here's the blacksmith, and here's the butcher, and here's the bakery, and here's the pie shop, or whatever the fuck they had back then. Like, here's this and here's that. Like, I want you to picture the internet like an 1800s storefront that people are just walking past, and there's foot traffic, and everyone has their own individual thing. The internet has given us this space to create our own digital community. And so that's what we did with Chardonnay and Slay, and why my brand blew up so successfully is we brought in all business types. We created a self-sustaining ecosphere where women are buying from everyone who's a Slady boss. They're coming in, they're like, oh, you're a Chardonnay and Slayer, or you're a Slady boss, or whatever, and I want to support you. Oh, you make dresses? Cool. We have clothing makers in that group. We have event planners. We have a lot of coaches. We have a lot of online consulting, social media managers, and digital product space. But we also have a lot of physical in-person product businesses that really feeds the soul of the community, as everyone there has a part. And I think the internet has really opened up this, 1800s type feel of like, you can specialize in something and give back to your community, because everyone wants to just give back. We want to do our part. Like, I'm the person that teaches people how to make money. Like, I'm the person that nurtures all the businesses, and we have a person that manages all the events, and then we have a person that does all the digital design, and then we have, like, it's all just this specialized thing where we're all trying to find our place and how can we give back to this community. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like going back to the old like tribal living of everyone in the tribe has a gift, and that gift is something that they can not donate but contribute to their little society and their little ecosphere. Like, some people are really great at basket weaving, and some people are really great at getting the berries that aren't poisonous, and some people are really great at hunting the food, and some people are good at taking care of the kids, and it takes a village. And it's great when you can really use your gift and express it in a way where other people can receive it, and everyone's doing that for everyone else. I feel like that's the way it's meant to be. And I think you can tell me what you think about this, but when people always say, oh, you have to like polish up your weaknesses and work on your weaknesses, I'm like, well, maybe your time might be better spent like actually cultivating your gifts and your genius, because that's where you can really thrive. Like, screw the weaknesses, outsource that shit. Like, what are you doing?
Why be half-assed at everything when you can be great at one or two things,
I'm
That's
perpetually 5 minutes late, and I say that up front. I am always, hey, thank you for bearing with me. I'm always gracious that people are patient with me. But if I were to double down on like, oh, well, I'm late and I'm the person who, who's always late or unorganized, like, no, I hired someone to be organized for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even touch my project management software. My husband is my OBM, and he sends me my to-do list every day, so I don't have to look at that shit. I don't want to. It's not my zone.
Yeah.
I'm good at everything, but I don't want to.
Right.
That's not my thing. So double down on your strengths, man. That's why if you have a village, hire people who are good at that skill set. We even have a weaver, by the way, in the group.
That's great that I use that example.
Not a basket weaver, but she has literally start to finish. She has goats. She takes the Angora fur, she spindles it like fucking Rumpelstiltskin and shit, and then puts it on an old loom, an 1800s like loom, and weaves fucking scarves. Like, wow. We literally have a weaver in our group. She's amazing.
That's cool. Incredible.
So let's talk about the wealth piece. So we've established going for what you want to do, pivoting is okay, doing your own thing is really cool. And then from there, what are some of the healing modalities or mindset shifts that you've noticed are most helpful in getting to that next level?
First, we have to be okay with saying that we want wealth. Like, I don't know what the fuck happened in the 1800s, 1950s, I don't know, wherever this rule came about that it's not polite to talk about money. This old school, why is it not polite to talk about money? It's like saying it's not polite to talk about your gifts. It's not polite to talk about how amazing you are. It's not polite to talk about your talents. It's not like, well, if you talk about money and you have more money than someone, you might make them feel bad. The fuck? Like, why don't we just heal them so that no one feels bad when talking about money? And so with being the person, so the book I'm working on is called Attention Whore, because everything says, look at me, like my whole brand is all about grasping attention. But part of that is when you talk about wealth, you are going to repel people, or people will come flocking to you. So it's a double-edged sword of, I mean, I was at a networking event right before the shutdown, and it was like, I asked her like what she sold her magazine for, because she had a local woman had a magazine and she sold it. And I was like, cool, what'd you sell it for? I want to know, because I'm building a magazine. So how much can I sell that shit for later? And I was like, it's like, oh, you can't ask me that. I was like, she was like so offended. You guys. And here I am thinking I'm in a safe space talking to other business owners, talking about money. But I was like, wow, it's deep. It runs deep in the programming of talking about wealth is bad. I'm like, but why? Why did someone decide that you're only valuable if you have money? And if you don't have money, then you're not valuable. Or you're not allowed to feel really good about money if you don't have any of it. Like, why did we start assuming that all poor people are angry at rich people? And when did poor people start being so angry with people that had money? So there's this huge, like we were talking before the call, there's this huge, deep ingrained, it's never really about money. It's about inadequacies. It's about validation. It's about self-worth issues. It's about generational trauma that's being passed down, and generational lack that's actually changed the DNA that's been passed down from your ancestors to you 8 generations up. Has, think about our grandparents that went through the Great Depression and experienced extreme lack. And, we might have had that poor grandma that, this is me, the poor grandma who went through the Depression as a kid and saved every Ziploc bag. Every cereal box was reused for something. Everything had a purpose, not in like a hoarding way, but she reused everything. And my mom still to this day reuses old cereal bags, like as if it's a fucking Ziploc bag. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, don't get me wrong, she does it now because she's trying to save the planet, and I applaud her for that. But like, if you're doing it because you don't want to, like, you can't afford a Ziploc bag, like, let's talk about how we can get you some more money. Like, there is so much money out there in the world. And if you look at money as energy, and if energy is always expanding, then money is always growing. Why does our economy keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing? Why does the stock market keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing? When the Big Bang happened, it was an extreme amount of energy that set everything on this. We're literally flying through space right now on a giant ball of rock that could be hit by a giant ball of fire at any moment. And but we're flying right now. We're literally flying through space. And we have been flying through space since the Big Bang. So if you look at energy as it's always in motion, as it's always expanding, then you have to look at money that way.
Yeah.
Because money is always expanding. The internet is infinite. Like, it's like the fucking universe out there. It is always expanding. Opportunity is expanding. It means little towns, like the 1850s towns I talked about on the internet, there's an infinite number of real estate that can be picked up on the internet. There's an infinite number of your own space in the digital world that you can pick up and grab, and it's fucking free, or $40 a month, or whatever you pay for your internet service. Like it's free. You can go out there and create your own village, your own tribe, your own digital footprint but if you look at it as something that's actually tangible, you think about, oh, I'm creating a village, I'm creating a town here, I'm creating something that is a digital community. It's a real estate space, just like any real estate that is here on the physical world. It's just as valuable, if not more so, than actual physical real estate, because there's a lot of real estate that isn't worth shit. It's bumfuck Kentucky. Nobody wants to live there. You can buy like an acre for like $5,000. So like, who cares?
Shout out to all Kentucky listeners.
Hey, I'm loud. I'm still here for a reason, because I love it so much. But
Right.
But like, if you look at money as, because we have the internet now it can be created infinitely because it's an exchange of value. And now you have this digital footprint that you can create for yourself, this digital village where you can sell to people their products, and they can sell you their products, and you can create your own little economy and ecosphere. It's literally the same as buying plot of real estate and creating your own village in the physical world. And it's the same amount of value. And so if you can bring value to people, they will keep coming back and buying. Most of our customers are repeat customers. They come through our funnel. They start with a low cost program and they work up and they buy the next program and then they buy the next program because they get results and then they want to work with me privately. And it's because we've created just a place where people want to live. They want to be there. But everyone can do that. Everyone can create that or be a part of that, because not everyone wants to be the leader. Not everyone is born to be the mayor of a town, but everyone has a chance to be a part of the digital currency space that is going on in the world, whether you're creating digital products, info products, which is like a $70 billion a year industry, or if you're selling your physical products on the internet. If you watch Shark Tank now, 90% of the people that get a spot on there are like, well, how'd you make all these sales so quickly? And they're like, social media. They have a physical product, but they're like, we went viral on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, they're selling physical shit, but they're using this digital footprint that they have created, this community, this space that they have built for themselves.
Yeah. Hey there, thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to watch the extended version where you get the full podcast episode in a video format, just go to patreon.com/highvibe. The link is in the description. That's where you can become a supporter of the show, listen to all the episodes via video format, and each week you get extended versions of the show, meaning you get to see the pregame behind the scenes, and also you get an extended interview with whoever we're guesting, or if it's me and Lindsay, we usually pull cards for you guys, fun stuff like that. So go check it out. There's lots of cool goodies, including a free copy of my book, a free audio hypnosis from Lindsay. She's a hypnotherapist. And yeah, we just want to give you all the goods, all the content. So head over to patreon.com/highvibe to become a Patreon.
Or if you'd rather listen to the rest of this episode, head over to highvibinit.com where you'll see all the links to everywhere that it's getting streamed. Click your favorite one and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.